From 1 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the Ebola virus?
About a 2 at this time, the way things are right now, about a 2.
From 0 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the Ebola virus?
0.
What is your fear level from 0 to 10 of contracting the virus?
Personally, 0 to 1.
And what do you believe your percentage from 0 to 100% of contracting that virus?
Repeat the
Your
question.
percentage, like, do you think it's like a 50% chance you get it, or 20?
That I would get it? 0 to 5%.
Me, personally, I think it's 0.
On a fear level from 1 to 10, how afraid of you are of the Ebola virus?
0.
And what do you believe your percentages of contracting that virus?
Where I am right here, 0.
0 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the Ebola virus?
0.
All right, so 10 is very afraid and
Yeah.
0 isn't? 2.
And your percentage, what do you think your percentage of contracting that virus is?
Percentage. Probably 50.
And your percentage of contracting that virus, what do you think it is?
Depends where you are. I mean, if you're nearby, it's a pretty good percentage of getting it.
When you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
Locking people up with a bad disease is a good thing.
When you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
It's a question of whether it's voluntary or it's imposed by a government agency.
And when you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
I don't agree with quarantine. I believe if you leave this country and you're going to travel abroad and you're going to a place where there may be a potential to get Ebola, they have to let you know before you leave if they're going to quarantine you when you come back.
0 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the virus?
I'd say about an 8.
And what do you believe your percentages of contracting that virus?
I'd say about 15.
What is your fear level of contracting the virus?
3.
What is your percentage of contracting that virus, do you think, from 0 to 100%?
3%.
What do you believe your fear level is from 0 to 10 about contracting the Ebola virus?
Well, it's a lot higher now that they let people into the country that had it. So I would say probably a 5.
And whose fault is that about letting the virus actually come in?
The people who set policy, and I don't know who that is.
From 0 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the Ebola virus?
0.
What do you believe your percentages of contracting that virus?
2.
And what do you believe your percentages from 0 to 100% of contracting that virus?
Probably not higher than 5%.
And when you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
I think it means that you're going to be restricted to your house until whatever the number of days is that they set.
From 0 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the Ebola virus?
Not that great, I would think 2 or 3.
And when you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
Totally disagree. I don't think anybody should force me to put anything in my body that I don't want in it.
So if the government asked you to do it, would you do it?
No.
And when you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
I don't like it.
So if the government came in and said you need to take this shot, would you take it?
Nope.
And when you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
I think of someone that has to be in an area for a certain amount of time.
And when you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
That you need to get it.
So if the government said you gotta get it, are you gonna get it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
And if Barack Hussein Obama said this is best for you, you're gonna do it?
Probably not, but you never know.
What do you think is your percentage of contracting that virus?
Under 1.
What do you believe your percentages of contracting that Ebola virus?
Hopefully, a very low percentile.
From 0 to 10, what is your fear level of contracting the virus?
0 to 1.
The term quarantine, what do you think?
Quarantine means that somebody has been exposed to the virus and then within the 21 days they don't have contact with anybody else so that they could transmit it through their body secretions.
When you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
that you should be quarantined for the 20 or 30-day period, whatever it requires.
And when you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
If necessary, yes. Yeah, I would think you'd have to do that.
So if the government ordered everyone to take it for the safety of everyone else, you would take it?
Wow, that's a tough question. I don't know. That I don't know. I don't think I don't know if I could do that with the record of the government. Sometimes they're wrong. So, I don't know.
Mandatory vaccination means they have a vaccine available and everybody who's healthy gets it, so prevent the spread.
And you would take it if the government said you needed to take this vaccination?
No, hell, I didn't take the hepatitis B vaccine until it was made by yeast, so why would I get it from Haitians when it first came out? I work in a laboratory.
And when you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
Isolated. I think keeping the old people away.
And when you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
As long as the CDC and all of the medical professional organizations have agreed that it should be mandatory, I would err on the side of the experts and say, get it.
I'd favor it in some cases, most cases.
When you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
Scary.
The government told you need to take this vaccination. Would you?
No.
When you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
No.
So if the government said, you gotta take this, Mr. Gomes, what do you say?
I don't take a flu vaccine. I wouldn't take that one.
When you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
I'm not quite sure about that, but it might have to come to that depending on the situation at the time.
Well, smallpox vaccination, vaccinations that are really required to fight serious illness, and if they're mandatory, then that's what you need to do.
And when you hear the phrase mandatory vaccination, what do you think?
I'm undecided. It depends on what you're being vaccinated for, I suppose.
And when you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
Government mandated.
When you hear the term quarantine, what do you think?
Jail.
And as you said, you worked in that field, so what kind of protocols do they have in place right now where you're at?
My setting is a little different. I work in a long-term care facility. So depending upon the level of infection, it can be anywhere from, safe handling with just gloves and a mask, or, full gown, gloves, mask, eyewear. But like I said, it all depends upon the patient's infection or sickness, if you will. And that also, it's also their, personal protective equipment, and whether or not they can come out of the room, and if they come out of the room, what kind of precautions to sterilize with if they do come out. Because in some cases, people can come out of their room, they may have a certain infection, and it'll be okay if they leave the room as long as you take the certain precautions afterward to, clean up after. So I suppose it varies.